Hi everyone. On today's episode, I have the lovely Zara as my special guest. Zara is 15 and lives in the UK and has Tourette's syndrome. She raises awareness of Tourette's and tics and educates people via her hugely popular social media platforms. Zara has over 378,000 followers on TikTok, and she's just an all-round super talented and creative person. So, Zara, do you want to say hi and just introduce yourself a bit?
Hi, yeah, thank you. I have Tourette's syndrome, and I've been living for it for nearly a year now, with my diagnosis. And I raise awareness for it mainly on TikTok, but I just kind of use all my social media to raise awareness and kind of just document all my different tics and just what life's like living with it, because even I didn't really know much about it till I got diagnosed. It's a really misunderstood condition, so I actually find it quite interesting learning all the facts about it and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's really interesting. So you've only had the diagnosis for a year?
Yeah, well, it's not even been a year. I got my diagnosis last March, because it takes quite a while to get diagnosed, because a lot of the time people have tics for a good number of years quite mildly before they realise it's an issue. And then that's when they get the diagnosis, when it kind of flares up at the worst bit, which for me is right now. Teenage years tend to be the most kind of stressful, severe points. So hopefully it'll ease off a bit when I'm older.
Okay. And when did you sort of first, were you aware of it? Do you sort of remember?
Yeah, I first remember noticing that I had tics. I think I have a memory of it being when I was 7, and I didn't realise I was doing it, but my mum used to point out that I had a jaw twitch, and I used to just twitch my jaw all the time without even realising. So I didn't even know I had a tic at first. And then I started to notice that one more as it kind of progressed and got a bit more noticeable. And then I just gradually got more and more tics. I got a neck twitch, and then I got my first vocal tic a year and a half ago, I think it was. And then it all just spiraled from there.
Okay. It seems it's such an unpredictable thing, and it, the fact that it can kind of do vocal things as well as muscular things, that's such a difficult thing to get used to, I imagine, if it changes a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a different condition to other things, because it's different for everyone, and it's different between person to person, but it's also different within the same person, because every single day my tics are different, and my tics change basically on a day-to-day basis. I get new ones and I lose some, so you can never really predict what the next challenge is going to be, because some days I can write and some days I can't hold a pen without throwing it at someone's head. So
okay. It seems very varied.
Yeah, it's a big spectrum. A lot of people don't even have many vocal tics at all, and then clearly some people have a lot more severe vocal tics and motor tics.
And how do you find your school setting? Are they quite kind of understanding of it, or was it something you kind of had to slowly sort of introduce to them and say, look, this is what I'm struggling with?
So before I got my diagnosis, it was quite an up in the air thing, because even my mum didn't really believe me at first. It was quite a new thing, and everyone was kind of brushing it off as anxiety or, things that aren't serious. And so school were pretty good with it at first. My teachers were the first people I told what was going on, and they immediately gave me a pass to leave my lessons, and they kind of did whatever they could without a diagnosis. And when I got it, my school were amazing, actually. My school have been really, really helpful. They told all the teachers what was happening, and they did files and notes that everyone has, so everyone's aware of what's going on, to avoid any conflicts or teachers telling me off for ticking or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been amazing. I've heard of some people who get told off in the classroom for being distracting and stuff, but I've not really had any of that. They're really supportive, which I'm really lucky for.
Oh, that's great. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
Because I feel some people really struggle in the sense of explaining their symptoms and stuff like that, and the fact that you have this pass that you can just kind of leave when you need to, kind of thing, that's really good.
Yeah, they've been really helpful. I think the only problem with school is like the people there and the kids, to be honest. The teachers have been great and all the systems have been amazing, but it's just dealing with the individual students that can get a bit tricky.
And do you find, obviously being on like TikTok and doing your videos and stuff, that people have lots of like misconceptions around Tourette's and like myths and stuff around it, do you think?
Yeah, there's hundreds. There's so many misconceptions. One of the main ones being that everyone swears, and that if you don't swear or you don't have this certain tic, you don't have Tourette's, like you don't qualify for it. I feel like in people's heads, like people that aren't really educated on it, I feel like they have a certain image of Tourette's or what people tic, and they just kind of take that as the only thing Tourette's can be. So if they see anything else, they're like, this is fake, I've seen this person and you don't look like them, so that means you don't have it, which obviously is not true.
Yeah, I mean that's the sort of thing on the internet that baffles me, in that, you know, people think they know you, and actually it's only really you and your friends and family that really know the ins and outs of you and how you are day to day and stuff. So it does, I hate to see comments like that.
Yeah, people judge an entire person's condition based on a 60-second video, which just does not sit right with me.
No. I mean, it's really great that you despite, you know, any sort of comments like that, you stick at it and you're there to kind of advocate and also like educate people in that, you know, this is your day-to-day life, and this is like, you know, a bit of a like day in the life sometimes that you do and things like that, which are really good.
Yeah, I think my diagnosis, it really kind of boosted my confidence, even though developing Tourette's and having this whole new issue just in my day-to-day life, it really like had an effect on me at first, because I couldn't really do anything by myself anymore, because it became a danger, like walking down the road, because I'd try and throw myself in front of cars as a tic, or I'd like shout at people, and I was always scared, well I still am, I'm still scared that I might come across the wrong person and say the wrong thing, and then obviously that's a bit dangerous, but it definitely like improved my confidence.
So you're 15, you're not doing your GCSEs yet? Are you exam year or not?
Yeah, I'm year 11, so last year of high school. I'm supposed to be doing my GCSEs in a couple months, but they've been cancelled due to Corona. So it's all coursework, luckily for me, because exams are so stressful with tics. I knew it wouldn't have gone well. I would have failed.
Would you've got like a kind of separate room kind of thing and extra time, do you know?
Yeah, so we did mocks just before Christmas, and those were my first proper set of exams with Tourette's, because I only got my diagnosis in March, and obviously we've been in lockdown since then. So I've only had a couple of months full on school with Tourette's. And for the exams, I basically had an extra room, like by myself with no one else in it apart from a teacher. I had 25% extra time, and I got to play music beside me, like instrumental piano, because that's the only thing that'll calm my tics down. I got breaks whenever I needed to, so I could let my tics out. And I got extra papers because I used to rip them up. Yeah,
excellent.
We had so it's always helpful when you've written half your exam and you rip it in half. That's always a fun one. Yeah. We basically just did whatever we thought would help in the moment. Like if I thought, oh, this will help, or if I want like a fidget toy to help, I'm allowed kind of whatever I need, as long as it's not cheating.
Oh no, that's really good. I'm really glad to hear that they're taking what you're saying seriously and knowing what's best for you is really important. And I'm glad you get, I don't know, just even like a room to yourself and not being surrounded by people, because even that's just like stressful enough.
Yeah, it's still stressful. Like just having one teacher in the room can be stressful, because you always know that whoever's in the room, and even if they don't mind you ticking, you know that they're going to be listening because you're the only voice in the room. And so you know all the attention's secretly on you subconsciously, which always has an effect. You gradually start suppressing all the loud ones, and then it ends up in a tic attack, and then you fail your exam. But yeah. Another thing that they do for my exams is if it goes really badly and I just can't concentrate, or I think I've done really badly and I've ripped the paper or I have a tick attack, I can just resit the entire exam another day and just redo the entire thing.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, which is really helpful. I did that a couple of times, which means I do 4 hours for an exam instead of 2, but at least I pass it.
That's good. I mean, that sucks, obviously, but I'm glad that you do get the opportunity again.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
It's interesting what you say about suppressing your tics makes them worse later on, or you know.
It's a weird concept, but it's kind of like it's suppressing. People think when you think of suppressing, they think kind of getting rid of it and just like pushing it away. When with tics, if you suppress a tic, it's holding it in rather than kind of getting rid of it. It just postpones it till later, which is why it makes it worse. I like to think of it as if you've got like a time scale and you've got tics like every second on this scale, kind of like a heartbeat or something. Suppressing it just kind of squishes it into one section of that instead of being spread out. So it's kind of just one burst of tics instead of gradually letting them out, which obviously makes it more intense later on.
Yeah, you pay the price for doing that kind of thing. Okay. That's really difficult as well, because if you know that you're having to do it and that you're going to pay the price later on, that really sucks.
Yeah, you just kind of sit there thinking, I'm going to regret this later, but there's nothing I can do.
And do you find that it's quite like draining after you've had a sort of attack?
Yeah, I normally just have to go to sleep because my tic attacks I think are quite severe because my case of Tourette's is quite severe. So mine are usually between an hour up to a couple of hours of just constant ticking and like breathing tics and vocal tics. So you can't really breathe or talk or do anything for like the whole time, and you're obviously constantly moving. So it's really exhausting. Yeah, it was a crazy thing the first time it happened because I was kind of like, when is this going to stop? But now I'm used to it. I know the feeling beforehand, because beforehand you get kind of a feeling, it feels like electricity is kind of running through inside of you. It's like just an intense feeling of tics building up, but whatever tic you do, it doesn't release the feeling which it normally does when you tic. It just kind of carries on building. It just kind of feels like you're being like zapped with electricity just constantly until you have the tic attack.
Gosh, it sounds so draining, and just like both mentally and physically for you. Just it must absolutely like zap all your energy.
Yeah, I used to do so many things, but I just have to cancel a lot of things some days because if it's a bad tic day, I just kind of have to accept that I'm not really going to get anything done, and whatever I try and do, I will probably just end up having a tic attack or something. So it's helpful that all the people around me in like school and my friends and family, they know that I need a break sometimes because they understand the condition more now than they did at the start. And so everyone's quite understanding with just giving me a break whenever I need to. Like sometimes I'll just take a social media break for a while because I just need to like lie in bed for a day and recover.
I mean, that's good as well to hear that, like, because I was going to ask you about your friends. I was like, you know, they've probably seen you kind of through this sort of journey and going through this process of diagnosis. And for them, I mean, that's really great that they're understanding. And, you know, there's always that pressure if you like cancel something with a friend, you feel a bit bad. But it sounds like you've got like a good network surrounding you.
Yeah, everyone's been quite supportive. I mean, I've changed friends since my diagnosis because I definitely lost a few people when I kind of started getting tics. I think a few people were kind of not scared away by it, but they just kind of drifted at that moment. But then I like gained so many friends from TikTok, loads of people who have Tourette's because obviously we can relate to each other. And so we don't feel as bad when the Tourette's affects like us and our social life and stuff, because obviously it's the same for them too, which is definitely nice.
That's good.
Yeah, like all my friends with Tourette's, we have a group chat together and we can always talk about things. And other people that you talk to, like friends and family, they can say they understand, but you never know what it feels like until you go through it. So it's nice having people that you can talk to that genuinely have been through it.
That's what I like love about Instagram, is that I've found like a little like autism community, and like you say, unless like you're autistic or you have Tourette's, you know, someone else isn't going to understand. They're never going to be in your shoes. They're never going to know what it's like to be you. And it's all about finding your own like little tribe. And that's so nice to hear that you found like other people, because I find it's really difficult to find like other autistic people in real life, but online there's like so many.
Yeah, they just seem to be everywhere. But yeah, I feel like you can't identify people with things in real life. I mean, it's obviously easier with Tourette's because it's a very outward condition. It's a very obvious thing if you have it quite severely. But with things like anxiety and autism and OCD, ADHD, you can't see it directly on the outside at first. And so, social media has been great for just awareness, because you can meet so many people. Like back in the days when they didn't have social media, there was no awareness for anything, because obviously no one could share anything anywhere apart from in real life.
Yeah.
It's definitely easier to speak up online than it is in real life. Like, I educate so many people with videos, but I've never like stood up in front of a crowd and said anything.
Have you ever thought, you have over 300,000 followers on TikTok? Like, imagine that amount of people in a stadium. Or
I made the mistake of Googling a stadium. I think I had like 180k at this point, I think, and I Googled a stadium of that many people, and that kind of freaked me out. It's a lot more people than it seems, because obviously my videos get a lot of views, and like it doesn't. This sounds bad, but it doesn't really faze me when a video like hits 1 million views now, because I've kind of seen it before. It's just a 1 with an M next to it, so it doesn't look like a lot of people. Like, I scroll down, I'm like, oh yeah, 3.2 M. That's not that many. But if you separate all those people, that's a lot of people.
Exactly.
It's a lot of people that have seen my videos, but it's a lot of people that now know about Tourette's. And the amount of messages I get on Instagram and like comments and stuff of people saying like, I didn't know this before, but now I know, and like this has helped me with my tics. That's why I did it, and it makes me so happy to see that other people are actually being like positively affected by it, which was pretty much why I started posting about my tics.
When did you start your TikTok? How long have you been on it?
So my account actually dates back to 2016.
Okay.
It was just my personal account, and I didn't intend on making it a Tourette's awareness account. I just kind of, when my tics started getting bad, people started to notice. So I went to TikTok to kind of start posting about it and just say, oh yeah, I have this new tic. I didn't mention Tourette's because I wasn't diagnosed at this point. I think this was last January, so about a year ago, I started posting just about my different tics, and I was like, oh, I have this really bad tic. It's a whistle. And I was like, it's so loud, people are noticing. And that's my coping mechanism of telling people around me. That was how I like told people at school, because I didn't want to tell them in real life and have to deal with confrontation. And because I didn't really have many followers on TikTok from people from school. So it was my way of telling other people without having to deal with the real life repercussions, if that makes sense. And then it just kind of, well, in March and April, I had 250 followers, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And then in June, my first video like blew up, and that was my first time kind of being noticed. And that was my video about Tourette's. I did things that I can't do because of my Tourette's. Like, it was the first video I kind of did after my diagnosis where I was like, okay, this is how it's affected me. This is what I can't do. And I think it got 3.2 million views, which is insane. I went from like having no views and just having my friends on there to having like millions of people looking at my content, which was kind of insane. Yeah, it just kind of grew from there. But It's crazy.
That amount of growth in like such a short space of time is insane. But people obviously, I think people go to TikTok to see, instead of Instagram, you get the kind of real life stuff.
Yeah, I feel like Instagram, it's all, you can't express something well in one picture. Yeah, 60 seconds isn't like a long time to explain things, but I feel like it's very casual on TikTok, which is why people can kind of relate to people on there more. Mm-hmm. It's a very like casual platform that you can just kind of have a chat with people on.
Yeah, exactly. And you see, the real life kind of everyday sort of people you don't see. Instagram, you never can tell.
Yeah, Instagram's deceiving.
It is.
Yeah, you can completely like deceive someone on there, but I feel like TikTok is more just people's like personal lives that they're putting on there. It's more just like snippets of people's days rather than a whole edited thing. Yeah. Which is why it's helpful in spreading awareness about what it's like having Tourette's, because I can just kind of, what I do nowadays is I prop my phone up on something and I just record for like 6 minutes or something while I'm like, I did a video today painting my nails because I just happened to be doing it and ticking. So I just kind of record wherever I go and then crops the footage and edit it and put it up just so people can see what it's like.
I think people don't always realise that, it might be, you filming over 6 minutes and you have just cropped to show this like section of, people just assume things.
I get a lot of comments saying like, oh, you don't tick in these videos, but you tick here. And I'm like, editing's a thing.
Yeah.
People don't realise that you can just crop out the 50 seconds where I didn't really tick anything interesting. It's like, I sometimes have 30-second videos of like just me ticking while doing something. And it would have been like a 10-minute thing, but I've just cropped it down to the interesting bits because that's what people want to see. That's the bit that I'm raising awareness for. But I think people forget about the other side of it.
They just forget about the rest of your day, and
they forget that I'm actually a normal person underneath it all. And exactly. I do just do normal things. I'm not constantly just ticking and shouting things like 24/7. I do have a life.
Yeah, exactly. So talking of other things you do you have any kind of like hobbies or special interests? I know you're quite kind of into your like gaming and also kind of music. Like I've seen you playing your guitar as well.
Yeah, music is definitely a big hobby of mine because music helps my tics as well. So I've definitely turned more towards music as my tics have got worse. But I've always played the piano. I'm grade 6 on the piano.
Oh, wow.
And I have 2 ukuleles and I play the guitar. And I've always been in choirs, so I sing quite a lot and harmonise with my friends. I don't really post much about my music on my TikTok, but on Instagram, everyone loves to see it on there. I love art as well, which I don't really post much about. I do art GCSE, which sucks all the time out of everything. There's so much coursework, but yeah, I love art and gaming's a thing that I spend too much time doing. Yeah, I live stream on an app called Twitch, and I play games on there like with my followers, which can be quite fun.
Oh, that's cool. Ooh. You sound like a very creative person, and I totally get what you mean by art GCSE. It literally, you can't have a social life if you do art GCSE.
Yeah, you have no time. It's either you don't get a good grade or you spend every single second you've got researching artists and putting all your effort and time into your coursework.
Yeah. Just remember filling sketchbooks, like trying.
Yeah, I'm currently on 7 sketchbooks this year.
This year, wow.
Yeah, it's insane. They're not all full. I'm not that committed, but yeah, I missed an entire topic over lockdown. It's crazy.
And how are you like finding like online learning? Does it suit you or is it a bit weird?
Not really. That would have to be a no. We have lessons online just like normal, and they put the PowerPoint up and they just kind of talk through the lesson like it's like we're in school, but it's not the same. we don't learn anything. I mean, they're trying to make it as normal as possible, but it's just, you can't concentrate. It's not the same thing. I feel like if I'm sat at home right next to my bed and like with my food and my Netflix, I can't force myself to like write in a book and do maths all day.
Yeah.
Although there is a whole positive of it's really good for my tics actually, because school can be a massive trigger because there's people, there's like suppression, there's work which is stressful, classrooms are just like loud. They're either really loud and stressful or it's silent, which obviously is an issue with tics because everyone's listening to you. And so it just triggers my tics horrifically. But with online learning, there's this amazing thing called a mute button. Which is amazing. I could just stay muted all day and the teachers don't know when I'm sat there swearing at them or giving them the middle finger. It's great.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah.
I get what you mean, like classrooms, and like I remember secondary school being ridiculously like overstimulating and just too much, but it's almost like the fact that you're with your friends and you can have that like back and forth with people. And I don't know, even art-wise, being in an art classroom with like, you know, actual paintbrushes and decent stuff you can use.
Yeah, it's the experience of being in school that I definitely miss. Like I miss all the conversations that you can have with your friends like in the classroom, because you catch up with people there. Like it's a really sociable place, which can be completely draining on one side of it, but I definitely miss like break times when I get to spend time with my friends, because obviously you can't meet up with anyone anymore because we're in lockdown.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely miss school for that, but the work side of things and the tic attacks, they can stay gone for all I care.
That's fair enough. So you've started a new YouTube channel, I saw. Did you want to mention that?
I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I'm quite glad I didn't before I had Tourette's, because it would have been a dead embarrassing teenage YouTube channel. But I wanted to start YouTube because I love spreading awareness on TikTok, and obviously it's great posting all the little videos because people have more attention span for a 60-second thing rather than like a 10-minute long video. But I have so much content and so much I want to say that I can't get across in a small video, which can be an issue with TikTok because people only see like 30 to 60 seconds. And so I can't really get across what it's really like living with Tourette's, because that amount of time can't explain what it's like living 24/7. And obviously a 10-minute YouTube video can't, but it's definitely an opportunity to get across more content. And I love all the gear. I have like my own camera and editing software and stuff. So it's just like a whole new hobby and opportunity. So yeah, I'm definitely loving doing that in the minute.
Oh, that's good. I mean, especially while we're in lockdown, you might as well kind of...
Yeah, I have all the time in the world.
Exactly. That's what I feel like. Like I've been recording more podcasts because I'm like, well, you know, there's lots of people I could talk to and I'm not doing anything, so I might as well.
Yeah, everyone's at home free, so you can just... All the things that are online are thriving because no one's doing anything outside. Like, no one goes outside anymore. Nothing's open, so everyone's online, which is probably why my account's been, like, thriving at the minute, because everyone's just on their phones.
Exactly. But, I mean... obviously good for you and your account.
Yeah.
always good. I was going to ask you as well, I've talked to other people about the concept of the Sunflower Lanyard, and I was wondering how you feel about it, just because like recently, because of lockdown and pandemic, it's kind of been a bit more sort of abused in a way, the Sunflower Lanyard. I don't know if you had...
I've definitely seen it in my comments. It's a thing that's been cropping up, and a few of my friends have done information videos on it just to clear it up. But yeah, I've had a Sunflower Lanyard since my tics got bad, like since before Tourette's, because I have quite severe anxiety as well, and I've always had panic attacks. So I was valid to have one before then anyway. But I think a misconception is that a sunflower lanyard means you don't have to wear a mask, which obviously isn't true. I think because people just associate it with that. Nowadays, it kind of creates an issue that they're forgetting the meaning of the sunflower lanyard, which is obviously just that the person has a hidden disability. It's just so that they can be recognised for that, and so that they can get the help that they need in shops or wherever. But I do have a badge on my sunflower lanyard saying that I'm mask exempt. But yeah, it definitely causes an issue because people they associate it with the wrong thing, but they are really helpful for people who actually need them.
Yeah, and I see, like, I've had comments as well, like, and I've said to people, I do still wear a mask because I can. I mean, I don't like it because, like, sensory-wise, I'm a bit rubbish with that sort of thing. But, you know, there are people with the lanyards that can tolerate it, and obviously there are people who can't, and that's fine. But like you say, it's just being associated with, you know, you're like mask exempt completely kind of thing. Whereas actually, you know.
Or people hear about someone who, or they hear about someone who has autism or Tourette's or ADHD or anxiety, and they say automatically, "Oh, are you not exempt? Like, you don't have to wear one because you have this," which means, like, legally you're exempt, which is a big misconception. Like, being exempt just means you personally have an issue with wearing a mask and you physically can't wear it. Which obviously is valid, but there's a lot of people with Tourette's that can wear masks. It normally isn't an issue. It's just because my tics physically, like, pull my mask off and, like, throw it at people, which obviously isn't very helpful and corona safe. But for a long time, I did try and wear a mask, but it got way too exhausting and difficult, and I wasn't on my face most of the time because I just couldn't keep it on, which is why I'm exempt. But yeah, people are definitely, it's a big issue. Anytime I mention it in a video, the video, like, blows up because the comments are just people attacking me for not wearing a mask and telling me that I shouldn't be going outside, which isn't really fair.
No. And they haven't seen the side of you that has tried to wear a mask and, you know.
I think they just assume that I'm one of the people who think, oh, I have Tourette's, I don't have to wear one, which isn't true.
No. The online world. How are you finding, like, mental health wise, like you said, like with your anxiety and stuff like that? Have you found it, like, worse in the pandemic and lockdown kind of thing?
Yeah, it's definitely affected it because obviously lockdown is stressful, and my tics kind of came on synced up with, like, when lockdown came on. They started getting worse in January, and then by the time we went into lockdown in March, they were, like, completely kind of out of control, like with the swearing and everything. And I have diagnosed OCD as well, because I got diagnosed with OCD and Tourette's at the same time, because they're comorbid conditions. So someone with Tourette's, they're quite likely to have other mental health conditions like anxiety, ADHD, autism, depression, OCD. They all kind of come hand in hand with Tourette's, which a lot of people don't know. But yeah, it definitely affected it, and the onset of Tourette's made everything a lot worse for a while. I find that now, when my tics are bad, I feel like it affects the OCD and the anxiety side of things. I feel like it's kind of, when my tics are bad, the mental health side of things isn't as bad, and it kind of has a, like, toll on each other, which I don't know the science behind it, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people find that if it's a calm tic day, their mental health tends to be worse on that day to kind of compass for it. I think some people's tics are made worse by stress, so it's kind of a coping mechanism for some people, like anxiety tics. But yeah.
No, that's really interesting. Like, especially how, like, you can correlate, you know, going into a more stressful time and seeing your tics progressing slightly worse and getting more of a struggle for you. But also just the fact that if you're having a good day in terms of tics, that almost your mental health can take the front seat and be like, oh, actually, I'm the main focus and I'm not doing great kind of thing, which sucks.
Yeah, they definitely, like, they kind of just go hand in hand. It can be kind of crazy when you're having a bad tic day and a bad mental health day, because then everything just kind of, like, blows up. Fuck, which is definitely, like, hard to deal with. But there are days when everything just kind of takes the back seat, and they're great. like today, my tics are pretty mild, and had a good like productive day for the first time in a while, because I've had a bit of a rough week with health, because everything's just flared up at the exact same time, which can be a bit difficult to deal with, but we're getting back on track.
That's good to hear. And you are such a positive person, like online, and just speaking to you now, considering, what must be going on for you every day. That's a lot to deal with for just one person, one brain to like deal with all of this at once. Like, and you seem to have such a positive outlook on life and, being able to share your story, which I think is really great.
Yeah, I think I kind of took it upon me when I first started getting tics, and like when I got my diagnosis, it was kind of a turning point, and I was like, I kind of sat and thought, right, what am I going to do about this, because it's clearly not going to go away, and it's going to be hard to deal with, and I think instead of learning to hide it and learning to kind of try and be normal, I went the complete opposite way and decided that, like, right, I'm going to tell people about this. I'm going to tell as many people as I can, and I'm going to tell them like everything. I'm going to educate them, because it was such an issue at first with people not believing me, and everyone thought the wrong things about the condition, which makes it hard for us like day to day, because we'll be walking down the street and someone will like say something about it which is just completely wrong, and it's obviously hard to educate someone when you're just kind of briefly walking past them in a shop, and so I kind of I took it on me, like it's a bit of a job now. I just kind of dedicated everything to kind of educating people about my Tourette's. I think I took it as an opportunity rather than like a burden, which a lot of people were confused about at first. Like, I think my mum struggled to deal with that concept at first, because she was like, oh, it's this awful condition, like you have to deal with it, it's bad. And I was like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I've got it, but we can make something good out of it, and obviously the TikTok has come out of it. So I've successfully done something good from a not necessarily nice thing.
Yeah, I think definitely you've made it kind of your own sort of, I'm not going to say passion project, but like you've kind of really, I don't know, delved into what it's like, and just the fact that you're willing to share is a really big thing and a really scary thing. So
yeah, it was a big thing at first, especially with the people I'd go to school with. Like, some of them I've known since I was 3 years old, and so it was obviously a massive change, and they didn't really understand what was going on. And rather than kind of trying to hide away and not tell anyone about it, which was my attitude before Tourette's, I was quite a concealed person, like especially with bad anxiety. I kind of just tried to hide everything from everyone. Like, I didn't want to go about talking about what was going on or trying to like raise awareness or anything. And Tourette's like really changed my mindset. And like it gave me a lot of confidence. Like after it took away a lot of confidence, it brought me up a lot. And I'm such a different person now than I was before Tourette's, like in a good way. It's kind of changed everything, but I'm not glad for Tourette's, because it's obviously not a nice thing to deal with, and it's a hard thing to go through. And I think a lot of people wouldn't have the strength to go through it. That sounds bad, but a lot of people wouldn't know how to deal with it, and I definitely didn't at first, but it's taught me a lot. It's not a good thing overall, but I'm thankful for the experiences that it's given me. Like, it's changed how I think about everything, which I'm grateful for.
That's really great to hear, and it's very humble and very kind of honest of you to say these things. And just being your like true self online is great.
Yeah, we need more real people on the internet, because there's so many people who are quite fake, and they don't really give across realistic expectations. But I think by normalizing normalizing conditions and normalizing people with disabilities, it just kind of removes the stigma. Like, the word disability has so much stigma around it that people don't even want to say the word disability. Like, they won't call someone disabled because it has so much negativity associated with it, which it shouldn't have, because it's okay to struggle with some things. It just, you have to learn to kind of deal with it, and people have to learn to help people to deal with it, which I think can be the bigger issue sometimes.
And exactly like you say, like, people just don't know whether to kind of define you, like how to talk to you almost. They're afraid to say something wrong or label you wrong.
It was weird going back to school, because I feel like that was the first big social event that I had to deal with my tics, because obviously when they first got really bad, I wasn't going shopping or anything. I wasn't going in public because we were in lockdown at that point. And so my first big outing was school, which is obviously a lot of judgmental 15-year-olds all in one room hearing me tic. So I kind of took it upon me to say, like, look, you can ask me whatever you want. Like, I'm here to educate rather than, like, kind of I'm not here to just deal with it myself. Like, I want to help everyone else understand it, because that helps everyone with Tourette's in the long run, and it teaches people to be more accepting of anything. I feel like once you teach them about something, it kind of opens them up to a whole other thing that they can be accepting about. I feel like people that I know personally that I've, like, taught about Tourette's, they now think about other conditions a lot differently, and they don't associate, like, negative things with things as much, because they're kind of used to me, and they know that I'm a good person underneath all the swearing. And it's weird to look at first. Like, if you don't know me, I look quite crazy walking down the street, but it definitely opens people up to, like, not judging a book by its cover kind of thing.
I mean, that is a huge thing to do, to go back to school and have, children who are, generally quite judgmental anyway, surrounding you. And the fact that you've said, look, I'm just going to be an open book, feel free to ask me anything, is huge. And like you say, educating, like, your peers and, like, other students, just to know someone with Tourette's and then have that background for, going on in life, that's really important. And I think, that's a really great thing to have in school.
I feel like people aren't used to people with, like, disabilities being in school. It definitely wasn't a normalized thing, I think, before I had Tourette's, and I know a couple of my friends have disabilities, but I think I'm one of the most open people about it in school, because I think a lot of people try and hide it because they kind of just want to blend in with everyone else. But I think I've kind of taken it upon myself to just stand out as much as I can, because I can't help standing out. Like, I stand out anyway. I'm sat there swearing realistically, so I might as well go the whole way and change how people are seeing me, because they're going to see me either way. So I might as well have them see me for awareness than just be confused about what I'm doing and why I'm sat there calling people rude things.
See, when I think back to secondary school, I think, I just masked my way through, exactly like you said, tried to blend in, tried not to kind of draw any attention to myself. And actually, there were probably other students doing this as well, and other, people with maybe, I don't know, chronic illnesses or hidden disabilities that I didn't know about, and we're all just trying to blend in when actually we could be helping each other. So it's a shame.
I think that's why I'm trying to change it. I'm trying to kind of make people feel all right, like, especially with tics, because I know quite a few people who, since I've started, like, raising awareness for tics, they've come out saying that they have tics as well, like personal friends of mine, which like amazes me, because I feel like I've kind of helped someone in some way, which just kind of, it makes it worthwhile, seeing that, like, my content has actually helped someone in some way somewhere.
I think it's amazing. I mean, you're juggling secondary school, which is a lot, and educating internationally. You've got a lot of responsibility going on there.
It's a lot, but it's a lot to deal with, and I think I've definitely got a lot more on my plate now than I did before Tourette's, because you're thinking about so many different things at once, especially with all the different social media that I'm keeping up with and all the extra things. And I mean, we don't have exams now, but we had GCSEs to prepare for, and then you've got like home life and friends and social life. Like there's so much going on, but I think it's helped kind of joining all my different my different sections of life together. Like my friends know about my Tourette's, and my Tourette's friends know my friends, and so I've kind of linked it all, so it's easier to like commute through it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
Like all my school and every single teacher knows about my TikTok. Like all my teachers watched my TikTok.
Oh my word.
Yeah, they've all seen my account and they all got shown in an assembly. As embarrassing as that is, it happened. But it helped because they got used to it before actually seeing me, so they knew what to expect. So obviously there were no surprises when it came to lessons. So I'm actually really glad they did that.
That's crazy. That's great that they used your own content to educate your teachers on you.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. But like you say, scary.
Yeah, I think everyone's worst nightmare would be for their teachers to find their social media and watch all their videos of them, especially when they're doing something like I'm doing, which is basically sitting there swearing and like making people laugh because I'm saying all these crazy things, even though it's not my fault. It's still quite out there. Like it's a weird thing to get used to, and a lot of people are quite shocked and like taken aback by it at first, like, oh my God, this is so against what society normalizes, which is why it's good to normalize Tourette's in society, because it's such like it goes against what everyone wants to be like in a way, which sounds awful, but everyone tries not to swear too much and it's frowned upon, and they try not to make weird movements or like look weird because people assume that you're on drugs, or like I've had people whispering about me, not whispering very well, clearly, but like I've had I've been in queues and stuff, and people look me up and down and say, "Oh, that girl's on drugs," and I'm like, "Hang on a minute."
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. I've had comments saying that I'm possessed and that Jesus can heal me. I just need to pray, and all sorts of things. I've heard it all. Yeah. There's definitely a lot to clear up.
I think people forget you're only 15. Like,
yeah,
cut you some slack a bit. Like, come on, you're just trying to live your life and do your very best. And for people to just make a quick judgment of you in a queue is, I don't understand that. But
yeah, people just judge based on what they see, and if they don't know anything about Tourette's, they're obviously going to look and just think that person's acting weird. It must be dodgy, like it must be something bad because that's not normal. When in reality, it's quite a simple thing. It's just I have this condition and this is what happens.
And also, what is normal anyway? Let's.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That I think a lot of people have this expectation that everyone has to follow these like unspoken about like rules that people have about society, and like you have to act this way to be accepted, and saying this is unacceptable, and if you speak out then people are going to hate you about it and stuff, which is just ridiculous. So I'm kind of trying to challenge that in a way at the same time.
Yeah, no, you definitely are. I think what you're doing is great, and I think you might need to like do a TED talk or something, because everything you're saying is very I think it's TED talk worthy.
I think that my shampoo bottles in my shower love my daily TED talks. I'll be practicing and I'll be like, this is some quite good stuff. I think if I was up on a stage or something, it would completely blur into a big mumble of tics. But yeah, I'm actually planning on doing a presentation in school. The word presentation really scares me, but I've always been the person when we'll be doing an English literature exam and there'll be a speaking exam with a presentation, and I'll crawl into my seat and go, hell no. But which was my reaction a couple of weeks ago when we got told we had to prepare this presentation, because we're all doing one for English for GCSE, and I kind of said, right, no, this isn't happening, and I went and sat at home and I thought, okay, let's just do it, and I've prepared a whole thing on Tourette's, basically kind of what I've said here, and I've prepared a load of information and challenging all the misconceptions, and I'm talking a lot about what people say in school that they don't realize it can actually be offensive, and which can actually be discrimination, and I think it's going to surprise a lot of people.
Okay.
I'm giving a couple of examples of things that people have said, like, in the class with me, because people don't really realize what they say, and it's okay to ask questions, but sometimes people have no idea how to react. I think it'll be really helpful, because if you don't tell people how to react, they're never going to know.
True. Yeah, it's good to be just quite open and say, look, this is what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, so I've got a whole speech, my first kind of talk about Tourette's in real life. Yeah, my teacher was like, you'll be fine, you do it every day on TikTok, and I'm like, recording a video is very different to standing up in front of a whole class. But yeah, they kind of said, well, you've talked to millions of people, you've said this in front of millions of people, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I'm just sat at my desk recording a quick 20-second video. It doesn't feel quite the same, but we'll get there eventually.
Oh, that's exciting though. Good luck for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll need it.
I'm with you on the whole presentation being a scary word, because it's people, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no editing in real life.
Very true.
I think that's the big scary difference.
Yeah, definitely. It's been really great to just like hear a bit more about you, and just even like your diagnosis, and how from the age of 7, this has been something that has slowly been kind of going on in your life. And I think, people might not understand that from, like you say, 30 or a 60-second video. So it's really nice to have like a good chat with you.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Do you want to say where people can find you on the internet?
Yeah, so if people want to follow me on TikTok, which is obviously my main platform, my username is ZZ25 on there, and that's where I post every day. That's my main platform. That's where all the information goes, all the videos. And then I also have a YouTube channel, which is linked in my bio on TikTok. That's just my name, Zara Beth. And everything's linked on there. I have a link tree in my bio, which has everything you could ever need. And it has links to Sunflower Lanyards and information on Tourette's if you want to read up on anything else. Okay, great. I will also put that link in the description to your link tree, so people can just click on that as well. Cool. Well, thank you very much again. Yeah, it's been really interesting to talk to you. So thank you for having me.
No worries. So yeah, that's it for this podcast, and I'll see you in the next one. Do you want to say bye?
Bye, thank you.
Bye.